Today we're going to talk about other representations that we can use to represent some data that we have collected. We're going to talk about the line plot or chart and the stem and leaf plot, also sometimes called a chart. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the pie charts. So you've seen all of these before in previous math classes. We're just going to review them. So first, let's talk about a line plot or chart. So I like to give you steps for everything. So here's some steps on creating a line plot. So the first thing you have to do is list your data in order from least to greatest. Then you're going to create a number line, and you're going to mark the frequency of each piece of data above the number line. So let's apply these steps. So example 1 says create a line plot. Let's go back to our directions. The first thing we have to do is list our data from least to greatest. So our smallest piece of data is 3. Mark it off. Our next to smallest piece of data, we have another 3. Our next smallest piece of data is 4. And then we also have another 4. Our next data, we don't have any 5s, no 6s. We've got 7, 7, and 7. We have 3 7s. Next thing we have is 8s, and we have 2 of those. And the next thing we have is a 9. So you always want to double check and let's count the pieces of data. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pieces of data, and make sure you've listed out 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, we're good to go. Step 1 is taken care of. Step 2 says we're going to create a number line. So let's create a number line now. The only thing we need to put up there are numbers from 3 to 9. So draw you a line. We're going to have an arrow here. So I've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So make sure you leave enough space above it so we can put some X's. So step 2 is taken care of, where we have to create a number line. Step 3 says mark the frequency of each piece of data above the number line. So above 3, we've got 2 3s listed here, so we're going to put 2 X's. And you want to make them all the same size. 4s, we have 2 4s, so these should be the same height. Notice how these are the same height. No 5s, no 6s. We've got 3 7s. And obviously that tower should be taller than the other 2. 2 8s. And then we have 1 9. And there is our line plot. Pretty easy and nifty. Kind of similar to a histogram where you can tell the heights for the bigger pieces of data or the more frequent pieces of data. Alright, let's talk about a stem and leaf plot. The steps are you list the data in order from least to greatest, so just like from before. We're going to create our stem with our 10s, and we're going to list the appropriate leaves with their corresponding stems. So I have like a mini example down here. The stem is our 10s, and the leaves are our 1s. So example 2 says create a stem and leaf plot. So step 1, list the data in order from least to greatest. So let's do that. Our smallest piece of data is 60. So, and then we also have another 60. The next biggest piece of data is 64. So we're done with all our 60s. Let's do our 70s. Our smallest 70 is we have 76, and we have it 1, 2, 3 times. And then we have 77 twice. Then we have 82 and 88. So let's double check our data. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ooh, did we miss something up? 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What did we miss? Oh, I didn't write 77 twice. See why it's easy to make a mistake on these? We want to double check. So we have 77, again, 82, and 88. So let's double check again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, we're good to go now. So moving on to step 2. Create your stem with the tens. So the only stems that we need is we need 60s, 70s, and 80s. So I'm literally going to write stem and leaf. And on our stems, the only 10 spots we have are 60s, 70s, and 80s. So that's all we got to list there. Then we're going to list the appropriate leaves. So let's look at our 60s. In our 60s, we have 60, 60, and 64. So beside the 6, we have 0 for the first 60, 0 for the second 60, and 4 for the 64. Now let's do our 70s. We have 6 3 times, and then we have 7 twice. And we're done with our 70s. And then for the 80s, we have 82 and 88. And there's our stem and leaf. Okay, so let's move on to pie charts. So pie charts, here are steps. The first thing you want to do, and this is built on some stuff we've done before, have done before. Number 1 is we need to determine the relative frequencies. And you get that by adding together all the frequencies, and that's where you put your frequency over your total amount of information, and it's a fraction. And then we're going to find the percentages by multiplying. We take our relative frequency and make sure you put it in parentheses in your calculator, and you multiply it by 100, and that's our percentages. Then the third step is we find the degrees by multiplying the percent as a decimal times 360, and that gives us our degree measure. The fourth thing, which is what I can't really do up here, and hopefully Coach Cam and Miss Salufo can help you out with this, you're going to draw a circle and measure each section. So, and then after you do that, make sure you label everything. You want a title on your pie chart, and you also want each piece of pie labeled. Okay, so I can only do steps 1 through 3 with you. Step 4 and step 5, you need a compass and a protractor, and to draw your circle and to measure out your sections. And Coach Cam can help you with this, and also Miss Salufo tomorrow. So let's start the next example. So it says, create a pie chart. So somebody's taken this data down, and we've got eye color being sampled here. So we've got brown, blue, green, and hazel eyes. And somebody has done some kind of survey and found that we've had 7, 5, 7, and 1. So first thing we got to do is we've got to determine what our relative frequency is. So before we do that, remember we got to add together all of these frequencies and determine what the denominator of our fraction is going to be. So 7 plus 5 plus 7 plus 1 gives us a grand total of 20 people. So our relative frequencies for the first one, we have 7 out of 20. For the next one, we have 5 out of 20, which can be reduced to 1/4. The next one we have 7 out of 20, which can't be reduced. And the next one is also 1 out of 20. So there are relative frequencies. So let's go back to the steps. After you determine the relative frequencies, you've got to find the percentages by multiplying the relative frequency times 100. So when you put these in the calculator, this is what you need to do. So say like this one. You'll say 7 over 20 and then times 100 in the calculator. And for the first one, that gives you 35%. And we're going to round to the nearest whole percent if you don't have a decimal. So the next one is blue. So we've got 1/4 times 100, and you get 25%. And for the next one, obviously it's the same as above, 35%. And then the next one we have 1 out of 20, so that's 5%. And the way you can check these is you can add all these up and make sure you're adding to 100%. Now sometimes you might have rounded a little differently and you might have 99% or 101%. So just adjust accordingly. The next step says that we need to find the degrees by multiplying the percent as a decimal times 360. So our percentages, we just found them. So like for the first one, for 35%, we're going to say 0.35 for 35% times 360. And round to the nearest whole degrees. So you get 126 degrees. For the next one, we've got 0.25 times 360. And you get 90 degrees. The next one's the same as the first one. And the last one, we have 0.05. So for the 5%, make sure you're real careful. That's 0.05 times 360. Not 0.5. 0.5 is 50%. We get 18 degrees. And the way you can check your degrees is you want to see if they add to 360 degrees. Now you might have a rounding error again where you might add to 359 or 361. Just try to adjust and make them add to 360. So I cannot physically do the pie chart up here, but on the next slide I have what your pie chart should look like. So pause the video and see if Coach Cam can help you create your pie chart. Okay, so I'm going to flip over to the next slide, and this is approximately what your pie chart should look like. And if you have any more trouble with creating your pie chart, hold off on doing them, and Miss Salufo can help you with it tomorrow.